have our feedback week, and last week my father had his cataract surgery, eye surgery, and so I was awake for since like 4 in the morning the night before, and it was just pretty crazy that day. And I had to, of course, get my son to school, but I had to coordinate that with my wife, who is on a different sleep schedule, and it was just a mess. So I was up for way too many hours, and so last week we didn't have a live show. And so when I canceled it, I noticed also that nobody had left anything for feedback week to examine. And so Randy made a suggestion about showing one of his videos. And he made this film called How to Survive an Alien Abduction. And I opened it up here on YouTube. And we're going to watch this. And let me see here. So probably Howcast will give me like a not a copyright strike per se, but they'll probably put ads on my show as we're showing this stuff. And I'm going to show other videos as well later on. But I should be safe. So I don't really care about the monetization part of it. So let's watch this and discuss it.
How to survive an alien abduction. Intergalactic ambassadors of peace? More like sneaky space creeps. Live through your ordeal with these tips. You will need mental focus, acting ability, brawling skills, iron will, a disease, and reinforced undergarments. Optional, aluminum foil or hubcaps. Step 1. To resist a telepathic assault, focus your mental activity against mind control by centering your thoughts on the word no. Use aluminum foil or hubcaps for lasting protection against brain rays. Step 2. To resist a physical assault, act submissive and intellectually inferior. When your captor gets close enough, surprise them with your cunning and agility. Step 3. Refuse any demands to take them to your leader. The minute you do, you've gone from useful informant to cosmic snack. Step 4. Aliens are notoriously susceptible to Earth-borne diseases. Try to contaminate your captors by sneezing, coughing, breathing, and being grody in their general direction. Step 5. To fend off the dreaded probe and other so-called scientific experiments, just slip on a sturdy pair of reinforced undergarments. For continuous protection, wear these every day under your regular clothing. Once the aliens realize they're not getting any scientific data from you, you'll be released alive and with your Earthling dignity intact. Or they'll have you as a snack. Did you know? Physicist Stephen Hawking believes aliens are almost certain to exist, and that human contact with them would be extremely dangerous.
So Randy has always made a lot of very funny animations, and so
an alien abduction.
I remember actually, we did show this a while back, Randy. I recall you mentioning how you made everything like the road here and everything. So, but you could probably fill us in for those who are new on perhaps how you made everything, like the set and the cactuses and the stars and everything like this. Yeah, it is great. And I like how his head gets spit up again and pops right back on his body. It's took a year. Wow, I believe it.
Against mind control by centering your thoughts on the word no. Use aluminum foil or hubcaps for lasting protection against
10 times. That's a lot. Yeah, I've seen it a number myself.
resist a physical assault, act submissive and intellectually inferior.
So I guess the first thing we could kind of discuss here is that obviously the puppets are made from clay, and the aliens are all one color, it seems. And the human has some clothing and hair and other elements, of course, in different colors,
The minute you do, you
which is a nice contrast.
to cosmic snack. Step 4. Aliens are notoriously susceptible to
You know, his mouth seems too small to bite somebody's head off.
factors by sneezing, coughing, breathing,
I'm just
or
saying.
being drawn in their general direction.
Ah, okay. From Alien, that's what you,
Step
in a
5.
folder, perhaps, Randy? If that's in a folder, I can bring it up.
So-called scientific experiments, just slip on a sturdy pair of reinforced undergarments. For continuous protection, wear these every day under your regular
And
clothing.
every conspiracy theorist has a tinfoil hat, so I guess
Specific data from you,
in this case, you know, you gotta protect yourself, so,
and with earthling dignity.
tinfoil pants? Yeah. So Ron asked if it was silicone, if there's any silicone in the aliens, and Randy says the alien heads were hard-baked Sculpey,
Aliens are almost certain
and the guy's head is Sculpey too.
contact with them would be extremely dangerous.
Yeah, you matched the coloring and everything really well with those. Let's see here.
You'll be with
What about the eyeballs? Did you use like marbles or some kind of a shiny toy, like Easter egg that you cut up or something? Or I can't remember what you said about that part. Yeah, the comedic timing is good. And I like how they gesture to each other and they work together, the two aliens, as a team. So you get the sense that they sort of know each other really well. So on that note, I am gonna bring up Randy's Facebook page. I'm gonna do this first. So I don't reveal everybody's information. If Facebook will work, of course. Just 1 second. And let me see. So, trying to find where it is. Trying to find it, Randy, and I can't. So I see you had different albums, and let me look here. So photos, Randy's photos. So it would be just your personal photos, but you do have a lot of pictures here. In fact, so I'll show this. So we have this photo. Oh, black buttons. Okay. Oh, I gotcha. All right. I wonder if I've liked that page or not. Let me look. That's strange if I haven't. Well, I'm liking it now. Not really sure why I didn't have that liked before. Okay. So let's see here. So that's why he threw it up, because he gets sick. So it looks like here you can see the rigs for the hot dog buns, which almost look like they're real hot dog buns, actually. See, here we go. So here's some more rigging. And you can also see, it looks like a way to control the light. We have some stuff off to the side here. And it looks like this is on some sort of a tripod. So Randy says here that the whole road is only about 5 feet long. This moment is near the end when the alien goes back up to their ship. Very cool. So there's a lot of like forced perspective here. You can see how everything kind of gets smaller and smaller, but it's not as far as it, it appears. It's really cool. And this looks pretty much typically like what my area looks like when I'm doing stop motion. Very messy and stuff laying around. The cactuses look like they're clay as well. And so we have some hills, which are look like some sort of flat cutouts of some sort. But you can't see that there's any stars, so I guess that would actually be considered a blue screen in the back. And that's probably how the stars were put in. Let's see. Another shot. Oh, where is Randy located? What is it? Utah? I forget now. So Paul puts the bucket on the alien's head, then the giant reached in to tickle him. So far the plan was working perfectly. The alien being Randy, perhaps? The animator was completely shocked when the clay alien actor suddenly spoke to him telepathically, suggesting a small change in the script, and it was a great idea. That has happened to a many great animator, actually. Even Nick Park, I believe, made mention that sometimes the puppet tells you where he wants to be animated. How the arms move and things like that sometimes. So it says the ultimate control freaks, stop motion animators. Then your arm goes here and then here. It is kind of funny when you think about it. It's like a godlike power. Oh, that's right, Denver. That's right. Man, I forgot. John Denver? Well, yeah, so I mean, let me go back to our video here. So I did notice that you had like a blue screen in the background. So, like, what did you use to make the stars? Did you use Photoshop for that? Because it's kind of tough, like the way that you were doing transitions, like sort of camera moves, but the stars and everything remain locked in the blue screen. So that's something that would actually be pretty tough to do.
You will need mental focus, acting ability, brawling skills, iron will, a disease, and reinforced undergarments.
Not to mention all of these effects, which
Step 1.
had to be painted in. So, like what I'm trying to say is, so we have, when he falls down, So the stars are locked perfectly in the background.
Telepathic assault. Focus your mental activity against mind control by
And so you'd have to almost like, animate the stars as well. And so Randy says I hand painted all the stars in Photoshop. Took 3 weeks to do it. Wow, 3 weeks. Well, I can believe it. I mean, that's a lot of work.
use aluminum foil or hubcaps for lasting protection against brain active and intellectually inferior.
Let's see here. You can kind of go through frame by frame here. And it looks like he used replacement mouths on the outside. Sort of like robot, not really Robot Chicken style, because this is more complicated than that. But so I like how this, you got like a little pause there, which is anticipation for the head bonk. That's great. So let's see. So Hoserlu says, so the flying head was on a rig, I assume, or done in post. Yeah, where was that? Let's see. Let's watch that flying head, actually. Okay. So Randy says, yes, mouse for replacements. So let's kind of go through this part frame by frame. So it's got a big belly, its mouth is closed, and then all of a sudden, its mouth opens. It's getting ready. Stomach is kind of going up. The head is moving through his body, and then comes out. And it's up. So at this point, it's pretty clever. I think I can see what Randy did here. So in order to not have to paint out a wire holding up the head, just make the top part or the bottom part of his jaw poke through the top part of the frame. And then it's pretty simple. But then, of course, at this point, you'd have to definitely paint out some wires. So before and after. That's great. So what else can we ask? I mean, let's see, do you guys have any more questions for Randy? So Ron Cole says, the lighting and photography are a major selling point. Extremely well done. Yeah, it's as if the UFO is above them and sort of shining a beam of light down, which is, from what I have heard, this is how they abduct cows, with a beam of light. I could be wrong, but yes, we should all wear pants made of foil. Dun, dun, dun. And he looks so pleased and proud of his creation. Who is more powerful, Thanos or Shaggy? Definitely, I would say Shaggy. So Randy says, I used a bright green wire for all aerials. Ah. So the close-up of the gun is a replacement as well. So you can see some of the things that Randy painted in here, like these little energy effects, I guess. So it comes out, energizes, and energy creates a cube. So Randy says so wait, Penhurst thing. I just meant stylistically it looks more like CDM than RC. Robot Chicken. Yeah, I mean, kinda. And then Randy says I changed it out during the quick zoom.
To fend off the dreaded probe and other so-called scientific experiments, just slip on a sturdy pair of reinforced undergarments. For continuous protection, wear these every day.
Not really sure which part you're referring to here. Let me go
Once the
back.
aliens realize they're not getting any scientific data from you. Step 5. To fend off.
Ah, okay. Wait a minute now. Are you talking about this part that pops up on the gun? Oops.
To
Hold on.
fend off the dreaded probe and other.
YouTube is giving me a hard time here. So these are some really small replacement pieces. Wow, even this has to be replaced, so that had to be very precise. And this part I would presume is just digital with capture, tickle, and of course probe. Of course, right? You had to have that in there. All right, this is really cool, Randy. Like I said, we have seen this before, but for those new, let's see. Randy Boyum has a YouTube channel called Randy Boyum Animations. So if you like that one, of course, you would like to get a few more laughs. He's got plenty of videos. You can click on his videos tab here. And so my favorite is fast food. That's my favorite one. I guess Ron is talking about surviving a bear attack, which is in here someplace. I just saw it. Well, anyways, it's a good channel, so definitely check it out. All right, so I don't want to spend too much time on that because we do have more to look at. And let me refresh this as well, just to make sure, because there was one other person that wanted to show something. Hopefully my page doesn't crash on me. Okay, there we go. Awesome. Okay, so Evie has something to show as well. But before we get to hers, so let's see. Stelmerkel Stalge has a post, and that's not what your name is usually, but and so he says working on this he needs some eyelids and eyebrows and probably also gonna sew a hat or something. And I was looking at this, and this to me is, you know, this is really, really good. This is, he's got like a wool shirt and some pants. It's all sewn, and I'm thinking it's done by hand. And then the face on this is like Sculpey, I'm thinking. Probably something similar to the way Randy made his character, but this is painted with, you know, some different colored paints, so it looks a little bit more maybe fleshy, a little bit more stylistic. And I think those are probably Delrin balls for the eyes. It kind of has that tinge to it, like it's not too vivid like acrylic. And it could be glass though. Could be glass. So maybe glass beads, but I'm thinking Delrin. Plus he's got like a replacement mouth area, so he can put in different mouth positions. So you can see here, this one here is more like a ooh, perhaps. And this one is more like a, just like a neutral face shape. And the hands appear to be perhaps latex. And one of my friends is making a book on Facebook using stop motion puppet making techniques, like build up techniques. And they were trying to figure out, how to build hands in latex. And they were having a hard time remembering how to do it to where it looks smooth. And so one of the things that I was thinking, for hands is when you make the hands out of wire, you use usually like some sort of an epoxy, like a Propoxy 2-part, and you make the palm section. And then you can stick the wires in there, which are either like 1 millimeter or something really thin, which is twisted, so it gives the hands a little bit of strength. Some people prefer steel. I know like Ron Cole prefers steel for the wire. But however you want to do it, one thing to think of if you're going to use latex over that is to use small twine or thread and kind of spin it around the twist it around each finger and build it up to where you get a nice thickness. And then if you need to, you can usually hold it in place with crazy glue. And then when it's all a proper thickness, that's when you can usually dip your hand in latex or paint it with latex. And that's one of the techniques that a lot of people have used in the past. I have not made hands that way before, but that's if I were going to, that's how I'd probably do it. And so you can see here that the fingers look a little bit, not totally smooth, but I think that it fits with the way the face looks. Like the face is not some perfectly plastic looking character, which is honestly is not always nice. There's a lot of asymmetries in there, and we've got lots of detail in the clothing, which to me is really super well done. I don't know if that was done by hand or what, but it looks really great. Kind of reminds me of Red Nose Studios, which they're I forget the guy's name now, but he does characters that look kind of like this and paints the noses red and very expressive. Yeah, really, really good. So Randy was mentioning here that had to make a big gun to create the things to read. It's 8 inches long. The signs on the gun are real and about 5 inches. Oh, okay. So I thought you were superimposing those over the replacement, rectangle. That's pretty cool. Okay. So that's what you were talking about. So when you were you transitioned from the full size to the small one during the camera move. I gotcha. Yeah, I wasn't sure what you were talking about before, but because it's so seamless when you did that I thought it was just the same gun, and I'm like, what? What do you mean? But if it's really well done and you can't tell the trick, it's a really good trick. Servan says smoothing with latex is done by dipping in thinned latex for the last couple of coats. Yeah, you don't want to have it, like that Mod. What is that brand? Is it like Mod Podge? They have liquid latex in a kind of container with a very wide lid, and it's like in a shallow plastic container. Is it from Mod Podge? I forget the brand name, but yeah, it's too thick, so you'd want to use some. Yep, with ammonia, exactly. So you can make it more fluid. But yeah, this looks pretty cool. So I mean, I don't really know what else to say about it. I can't see the armature or anything, but I'm imagining this is a wire armature, perhaps, because of I can see the curvature of the arm is more like a wiry bend, but I could be wrong. That looks really cool. So when he's done, it's gonna look great. I think when he has hair and stuff, it's gonna be Very funny looking character. Alright, so should we go on to Eevees? Let's see here. It's a YouTube video. Now, I have not seen this before, but let's see if there's any description. So it's from a Kevin MacLeod royalty-free song, and also you've got an Instagram and a Patreon. That's cool. So we can check those out when we're done watching this. Oop, hold on a sec. Let me make sure that the volume is up first. So we got some bodily moves, and we had some hand moves as well. So they're sort of dancing around, which is neat, and to sort of stop and then kind of contemplate something, and then kind of get back into playing the guitar, maybe, and talking. Yeah, so I mean, you kind of have to use your imagination a little bit to figure out what is actually going on. You know, what are they trying to convey? But the dancing is really cool, and it's actually pretty smooth the way that you moved everything around. Hey, Whiskey, welcome. Looks pretty good. So for toys, you know, toys are kind of a challenge to animate sometimes because they're you know, sometimes they're a little bit limited in what you can do with them. But what I can tell you is everybody that has done stop motion has pretty much always learned by animating toys and just objects. That's how I learned. You know, like the first stuff that I think, some of the first stuff that I animated were two cans of beans, believe it or not. And it was like I think actually it was no, it was like a can of peas and a can of beans, and they were fighting. You know, I had them fight on a table, and they sort of very similar to this one, in fact. They kind of spun around each other, but I had the bean, you know, the two cans of beans and the peas. What I had done is I had edited the audios to where one of them was growling like a lion, and the other one was kind of, you know, I forget whatever I put on there, somebody screaming, and then, you know, kind of sizing each other up, spinning around each other, and then one of them like knocked the other one off the table. But those little things that you learn from simple animations like this can last, you know, your entire animation career, you know, or whenever you're making feature films, you're always kind of going back on like, what did I learn from before, and what worked and what didn't. And so, as simple as this is, it's actually, you know, it's really good that you're doing the animation and you're, you know, learning how it works with your software, and maybe experimenting with the, you know, editing the audio in there, so you kind of get a good general idea of what you need to do in the future. And so Brian mentioned that florist wire for fingers. That's true. Yeah, florist wire is really good for fingers. It's got the fabric sometimes, like a very thin sort of fabric wrap around it, which I'm not really sure why they add fabric. I guess it's just to for something to stick to it, maybe. Or it looks like a plant stem, or I've never gotten into actually putting together floral baskets or anything like that, but so let's see here. So Nurse Joy has on her page an Instagram. I'll just click it real quick. And Little Dove Me is the name. Looks like we got some artwork here. So we have some puppets. Here's from the film that we just watched. I can see you're into anime, which actually this kind of will dovetail into what I'm going to get into after we look at your page here. Is that so the current generation of artists are getting more and more influenced by Japan's anime industry, and I'm going to explain to you guys why I think that is. I have a theory about it. And it's really good work here, artwork. So we have, of course, we have some more toys, Thundercats, and some experimental stuff. Actually, this looks pretty neat here. What is this? That looks like something that would be really cool to see animated right here. I decided that all my girls will be named Eve, and they will all be different versions of the same person. This looks really, really good. Like, if you were to animate this, I think that would be really awesome. In fact, the guys at Dragon Frame have done a lot of things that are similar to this, where you use cutouts. And it's kind of like it's not really 2D animation. It's not really 3D animation. It's sort of like what we're doing on our Bad Apples project, where everything's kind of flat, but it has some dimension to it, like you've done with the pants here. That's really good. That's really impressive. Another experimental character. Also, we have what is that stuff? The felt fabric, I think, and we have some like pipe cleaners for the glasses. It's all really great stuff. I mean, I haven't checked, but you might like to document some of this stuff for your YouTube channel as well. So I'm gonna subscribe. Oh, okay. So let's just check this out here. This is about, this one's 23 seconds. Let's just check this out. Alright, so this is really short, but this is really good. Chilling with the book. That's neat. So it looks kind of like, almost like this is a live action rod puppetry of some kind, where you've pinned things down, or you have little rods and the arms and things, and little hinge joints. That's great. I'm not sure, Brian. Not sure. And Randy says, Joy's got really good puppets, I think he means to say. Unless you're really hungry right now and you had a Freudian slip, Randy. Do you want to cook her puppets? Is that what you're saying? Really cool puppets. Oh, okay. Just making sure. Alright, so anyway, so this is, so Nurse Joy, so there's like a little star, and then Nurse Joy, and then star. So make sure to put those in there if you want to find her channel. And the Instagram is, oops, as I said before, so Little Dove Me. That's cool. So one of the things I wanted to mention is, so you notice that like, the artwork is definitely inspired by some of maybe perhaps anime, Japanimation, a lot of anime characters in here. And I noticed that because I'm on, what is it called again? VR chat, which I know I've mentioned in the past, where I interact with a lot of people on there, and it's kind of overrun with people that are into anime. And I've always thought, personally, I was like, thinking to myself, anime is kind of silly. I've seen like Dragon Ball Z and Pokemon and all that kind of stuff, and I was never really impressed by that, and I'm still not really impressed by some of those. But there are quite a lot of newer, not newer, but there are a lot of different animations which are kind of hard to find if you're in America. Um, it's not stuff that you see on TV here very often. I'm not really sure if maybe Cartoon Network has anime. I haven't watched Cartoon Network in however many years already. It's been forever. But a lot of people are really into it, and so I've got this theory as to why that is. Let me close this. Let's see, where was it? All right. Well, first up, before I get into that, though, I do want to thank you guys all for posting your stuff in Feedback Week. It's really cool to check out what you're up to and to talk about it. Gives us all a lot to talk about. But when it comes to stories, I think today in animation, if you're watching, for example, Netflix, and you're trying to watch any kind of cartoons, so Big Mouth is probably one of the dumbest shows. Personally, I feel it's one of the dumber shows you can watch. So I don't even know if I should play this. It's so lewd and just foul-mouthed, and the whole show is that. Like, because I came into my wife's into one of her Netflix binge watching episodes, where what she does is she'll watch a Netflix show from the first show to the last show, and she'll just binge her way through it. And a lot of people do that. And so she was watching Big Mouth, and the cartoon itself is just, like I say, it's so lewd, and there's almost no substance to it other than just trying to shock you. And it's all sexual jokes, pretty much. Jokes about being gay or straight or, just like, I don't know, just the worst stuff you can imagine. And after sitting through it for like 20 minutes, I'm just like, I think I'm dumber right now. I think I've lost some brain cells just watching this. And so thinking back when I was younger, I liked Ren and Stimpy personally. So I'm trying to put myself in the shoes of the younger generation and think, well, why are people into this stuff? And so I myself liked a lot of mindless cartoons when I was a kid. But some of this stuff now is just 10 million times more, I don't know, just over the top. And I find it boring. It's just like, I don't find it really funny. I mean, maybe it's because I'm getting old, right? So, this is like for the younger generation of maybe college aged, maybe like early 20s to mid 20s, something like that. But I like substance to my stories, and so I noticed that a lot of younger people are getting into anime just from people I've interacted with on VR chat, because I don't really like. I'm sure if I went to a school somewhere around town with people that are just going to college or maybe a little bit younger, they would probably tell me that they're watching anime, and I've kind of wondered why, because when I was younger, anime was not really that big, and so I decided to start watching some anime films because I never have, other than like Dragon Ball Z and Pokemon, and I'm just like, you watch 2 seconds of one of those and you're just like, I'm never watching that again. It's just not me. Some of it is like really meant for smaller kids, and then there's like Studio Ghibli and a few other companies that have created animation for people that at least use their minds a little bit more. And so, as you guys know, story is really key to keeping somebody's attention for a long time. And I think that my example of watching some of the stuff on Netflix where you watch it for 10 minutes, you're kind of like, oh, okay, it's very shocking and lewd, but it can't really hold your interest. You can't really relate to the characters. Even if you are lewd, I think you can't even relate to the characters. You know what I mean? Uh, so so I decided to watch anime, and some of the films that I've watched a few. I've watched 3 so far, and I'm going through my 4th one. And so the first one I watched was Spirited Away, and this is something that, ironically, if you like, there's a transition from one world to the next, where the characters are going through a tunnel from the real world to another. Even the music involved in it is amazing. It's very surreal. It seems to like almost not make sense in parts. Why characters are even there. So you gotta watch it, maybe a couple of times to to grasp everything. But it's very different. Of course, it's a different culture. So they have Asian culture and everything in Asia, like Japan. Draw you into the characters is, like I say, very refreshing. So the other one that I watched was Grave of the Fireflies. So again, this is a story-driven film. Again, it's like so refreshing to watch, and it's somewhat adult themed. Kiki's Delivery Service. Yeah, I've heard of that, and I've watched Howl's Moving Castle, which I'll talk about. But this one here, you see this guy here. He throws a can of candy out into a field, and this actually has there's a hook. There's like this hooks you into the character with this one little can, with this little girl and her brother, who is the brother is supposed to be, I think, like 14, and she's maybe I don't know, 4 or 5, somewhere around there. And this is during World War II, and so they kind of they're orphaned, and they're kind of going in between families. And if you guys know anything about history, America, what we did is we used to firebomb Japan before we nuke them with nuclear weapons. Japan, of course, tells that story differently than what we might have, in our propaganda and all that kind of stuff from the military. But make a long story short, so they're running from these bombs. Their family gets killed in one of the bombings, and so they have to survive. And the story does not have a happy ending, but what the creators try to do is to... Oh, okay, it's a 4-year-old. It says right there. It's to draw you into what they're going through, and the pace of it is very slow. Like if you go to the American modern movie like Aquaman, they try to just pump out as many scenes as humanly possible in the shortest amount of time. And these films, these animations show how the pace that is slower has a different effect on how you feel towards the characters. The little subtle things that they do, like he's pouring water here, and then the little girl is kind of squatted down and taking an interest in it, and you're able to sort of absorb that and understand better what's going on, versus giant battles and things like that where there's 500 people and just random things popping in and out and exploding and loud sounds. Yeah, I know I'm kind of crapping on American cinema right now, but so what was the other one I was going to say? Okay, so some of the other films that you might want to study if you're wanting to study story and ideas for your own films, coming from Japan again, are the Zatoichi films, which are live action. This is about a blind swordsman who goes from different, one town to the next and has to survive, mainly by doing massage and things like that. He kind of tries to do different jobs and tasks and always ends up in a situation where he's in trouble, right? And he can't see, but he has excellent hearing, and of course, there's like this mystery around him where he ends up winning battles and that sort of thing because of his skill, not by using his eyes, but other means, like using, trying to be clever and fast and whatnot. Ugh. Saran says, "Give me a slower pace every time. I hate rapid cutting." And Whiskey says, "Anime like Your Name came out a few years ago, was a big hit around the world, and The Grave of the Fireflies was really popular at the anime club at University of Waterloo back in the 90s. Cool. Yeah, I think it came out in 1986, they said. And Weeby says, these films are beautiful in the theater. DVDs don't do them justice. That's true. But the Zatoichi films, I've watched a few of already, and really, really good. I'm trying to think which one it was. And we can watch. We can just watch a quick clip here, I guess. But I mean, this doesn't really tell the story. This is just mostly action in these parts here. But yeah, so maybe not. But anyways, so the Toishi, and then the one that I'm watching currently, I'm about halfway through this one, and it's called Sword of the Stranger, and it is based around the Zatoichi style films, and it's very much very raw. I found that the film halfway through already has a lot of realism in terms of something else which I find interesting with these anime films is that if you watch a Disney film, for example, they kind of shy away from reality, and they try to shy away from things like even drawing nipples on a character, like if it's a man, right? So you can't even have that because it might be somehow sexual or something like that or whatever. It's very limiting for animators to express themselves in any kind of way, and it makes it more or less, I don't know what the word is for that. But these films, in particular, like this Sword of the Stranger, is more raw. It's more graphic, I guess. But they use it in such a way that there's a story behind it. It's not senseless. Also, things like there's a scene where one of the dogs gets poisoned, and there's a little boy that wants to save it, and they'll show like the dog vomiting, and you're like, this would never be in a Disney film ever. A vomiting dog. We couldn't have that unless it was like rainbows and stars or something. So again, like the freedom to express things like that. And it's not in a tasteless way like we're doing in America right now with these, more or less lewd, like I think Brian said, stoner culture cartoons on Netflix. So, and the artistry, of course, this is so much more better than Family Guy. Each frame is a piece of art, which is something that, when I first got into clay animation, the reason why I loved it so much is every time I would freeze frame through something that Will Vinton Studios made and go through there, I could go through each frame like this, and each frame would be a work of art. And you can see in this one here, it's the same thing with anime. They actually take pride in what they're doing. Each frame is well drawn, and this one is kind of complicated, like a complex drawing. It's not limited cell animation. There's real artistry in it. So I really just can't say more good things about it just from the short time I've been studying these films in the past month. So I wanted to bring that to you guys and maybe open up some doors for you to discover and check out and apply that to your own filmmaking purposes. All right. Well, anyways, that does conclude our show for tonight. We will have another show next Wednesday, I believe. Now, my father does get another eye operation soon, but I don't know if it falls on Wednesday or not. He said it would be a week after his first, and that would have been today, because it would have been last Wednesday. So obviously that's not the case. So hopefully it doesn't fall on Wednesday again, because I don't want to postpone another show. But anyways, if it does, I will let you guys know on our at stopmotionmagic.com. You can check it out on the page. So if you're Ron Cole and you're wondering if we're having a live show and you're waiting around, visit our page to make sure that it is not canceled. All right. So anyway, guys, I will catch you all next week. Thanks for stopping by.